Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Established Run's NBA Injury Report Analysis Show. I'm Drew Dinkmeyer, joined by two best in the industry at covering injuries and news and notes, Justin Fanning from Underdog Fantasy and Mike Gallagher from Established Run. Happy Thanksgiving to all of you out there listening. Hope you enjoyed the day off from NBA. Got full and ready to sit and watch some basketball tonight. Justin, how's your Thanksgiving? How are you feeling?
Feeling refreshed. It took all of yesterday to recover from the monster that was Wednesday. Wednesday, we got Bam being rolled out after being probable. We got the Levine late scratch. We got the Ayton late scratch. PJ Washington rolled out of nowhere. CP3 ejection. Yeah, the list goes on. It felt like a slate that would never end and a bunch of loops that we were throwing through. So just one of those days. Good to be back, though. Feeling nice and refreshed. Good to be back with you guys, especially.
Yeah, Mike, how was your Thursday, your turkey day?
Yeah, really good. I was writing matchups during after I ate on a full stomach during the Cowboys blowout. So yeah, really good day to see the fam and chill, and it was great. But always got to work a little bit, but it was nice. So yeah, feeling really good. How was yours?
Good, good. Thank you for asking. Yeah, we take any days off that we can get here. Let's get into this. We've got 10 games on the schedule today. We're just going to go through the final 9. The game with Boston and Orlando that locks in 30 minutes here is pretty straightforward with Drew Holiday missing today and Al Horford starting in his place. There's no other notes to really cover there. So let's start with Phoenix and Memphis. On the Phoenix side, we get a questionable tag on Kevin Durant. I've been waiting for there to be some sort of spot to get Kevin Durant a game off. This seems like a potential one. Justin, what are your thoughts on Kevin Durant's availability and how it impacts the Suns tonight?
Yeah, no real detail here and information on that injury. They didn't have morning shoot around, so I couldn't get really a tell that way. And we just saw, they had a back-to-back on Tuesday and Wednesday, and, we saw Durant and Booker had to come in late again in that Wednesday game against the Warriors because that second unit blew the lead. I don't know if that factored into it at all, but obviously not ideal to have them come back in. And yeah, I think we can probably call him, 60-40 to play. I would guess without much of a information or read. I would think Okogie would start if KD ends up being ruled out, but we've really seen Nasir Little, play an increased role over the last 3. He's 20, 22, 27 minutes in those games, so he would really benefit as well. He has really kind of taken that role from Keita Bates-Diop, who was the primary, reserve forward of choice early on in the season. So it would mostly be Okogie and Little there, with KBD and Metu giving some depth off the bench. And, the usage in that case would kind of cannibalize among 3 players. It'd be Devin Booker, Eric Gordon, and Yusuf Nurkic. We've seen Devin Booker 40% usage rate so far this season when Beal and KD have been off the court, Gordon at 29%. So we want to attack this Grizzlies defense on the perimeter. They're still pretty stingy inside with Jaren Jackson Jr. So, Nurkic would benefit, but obviously I think you would really want to attack through Devin Booker and Eric Gordon particularly.
Yeah, not too much to add. I'll just, as Fan mentioned, Memphis getting killed on jump shots, and Jaren Jackson's rim protection has been exceptional. He's been near the top of the league on layups allowed there. So yeah, and Nasir Little's looking great. Frank Vogel really talked him up in the presser, but yeah, Fan, as he usually does, covered everything else.
Unfortunately, not blocking shots, even though the rim production has been really good. I know from fantasy perspective, that's been disappointing. We should note schedule-wise, the Suns' next game is against the Knicks on Sunday. That's a pretty physical opponent, so wouldn't be surprised to see a day off for Kevin Durant here. Memphis side of things, Desmond Bane questionable with a left foot sprain. They're without Steven Adams, Brandon Clark, Luke Kennard, Jake LaRavia, John Morant, Marcus Smart, Xavier Tillman, so on and so forth. They got some hardship guys added in with Shaquille Harrison, who we seem to, this time of the year, always get added to a team and make his 10-day voyage. Without Bane here, things could get really, really ugly. So what are your thoughts here, Justin, on the Memphis side of things?
I think Bane could definitely miss. I mean, he suffered that injury during the third quarter of Wednesday's loss and was seen with a noticeable limp afterwards. That foot and ankle were both, were taped up after. So it wouldn't surprise me. And it's just been that type of season for Memphis. Just one injury after another. They just lost Luke Kennard and Marcus Smart and LaRavia. Now just another player to the list. So, in that case, John Conchar would likely move in the starting lineup for Bane, and we see the Williamses, see a more run off the bench and Zaire and Vince. And we'll see it. Like I would expect Shaq Harrison and Jalen Noel to both be available. They officially announced their 10-day signings this morning, and that's obviously very, very needed because their bench right now is extremely thin. It'd be like Zaire, Roddy, Vince Williams, and then you can kind of get into like Gigi Jackson and Kenny Lofton, who they don't really want to play too much of right now. So I would think like one or both of Shaq Harrison and Jalen Noel could get minutes right away if Bane ends up missing. And kind of like we talked about in that last situation with the Suns, I think it'd be concentrated among 3 players, the usage: Jaren Jackson, Santi Aldama, who's moved into the starting lineup lately, and then Zaire Williams as well. So one more note here I'll add is, Taylor Jenkins was talking about Derrick Rose, his minutes. He said they're still trying to be careful with his minutes allotment. He played 16 minutes on Wednesday, so wouldn't expect some sort of big jump with him if Bane ends up being ruled out.
Yeah, Shaq a little bit more of a natural fit next to Rose in the second unit, right? So I think maybe he's in there. And as you mentioned, I think Vince Williams has kind of established himself as a guy that is probably in here if no Bane. And yeah, I mean, this is going to be bad. I mean, if Bane gets ruled out, and it's kind of crazy. Like Kevin Durant's a better player than Bane is, but Bane is just so much more valuable to this team. I don't know how they're going to score 100, how they're going to score even 85. Maybe it feels like. And then the Suns' offense has been crazy. Booker leads the NBA in offensive rating. They've just been insane with him on the floor. But yeah, you laid all that out nice. A lot of Santi minutes. His foul trouble hurt him, but he could play a lot here. They've been playing him at 3, 4, and 5.
Yeah, note on Rose was a good one because those minutes got a little bit extended because Desmond Bane was in foul trouble last game. So he had like 12 or 13 of those 16 in the first half. And then the second half, when Bane was able to avoid foul trouble, they kind of kept it really, really managed. So that's an interesting thing to continue to monitor. I was monitoring it because we had an under on Rose, so I was paying pretty close attention to it. Let's move to Chicago and Toronto. Chicago has 2 questionable tags today: Zach LaVine and Kobe White, both listed questionable with foot ailments. Zach LaVine, right foot soreness; Kobe White, left ankle soreness. Gallagher, I'll start with you. Any read on the Bulls' backcourt today?
Yeah, so let's go over the LaVine timeline. Gets the probable tag. Billy Donovan says he's going to suit up, and then we find out he is not going to play. Billy Donovan said after the game that the training staff told him he was good to go, warmed up, wasn't feeling good, said he can't go. We got the news he couldn't go, and then there you go. So seems like he's got a decent shot to play. Look, LaVine plays through a lot of stuff. Sure, you could be devil's advocate and say the trade stuff, yada yada yada. But yeah, I think he could be back. Cruz has been listed with this stuff. He's going to be fine. But yeah, I think LaVine's in. But again, hard to be confident given the context of this injury.
Yeah, LaVine went through shoot around, and I think indications are that he's going to go. So I'd be fairly surprised if he doesn't suit up. I'd have more concern over Kobe White, who's a same-day ad with that injury. There was reporting that he was getting shots up with their assistant coach well after the first team bus left the arena this morning. I don't want to read too much into that, but I think there's some concern there, and they do have the depth to cover for him if he does have to miss time, and Ayo Dosunmu and Javon Carter. So that's kind of my expectation. I think Kobe's pretty soft 50-50, and I'd probably go 70-80% on LaVine to play.
In terms of if they were to miss Kobe specifically, we've seen what happens when they miss LaVine. We saw that last game. Alex Caruso is a guy that has been in the starting lineup of late. His minutes have been a little bit elevated in the starting lineup, but Dosunmu and Javon Carter seem like more of the fits to replace the Kobe role. Do you think if Kobe was out, that influences Alex Caruso, Patrick Williams, Torrey Craig, those guys at all? Or do you think it's all Dosunmu and Carter who benefit in those situations? Justin?
I would say if you're kind of talking about percentage of minutes and where those Kobe White minutes go to, I think it'd mostly be Dosunmu and Javon Carter. Obviously, they love Alex Caruso, and he's very versatile, plays a number of positions and roles for that team. So he's going to play a good amount regardless, of his starting or reserve role or, whatever position they fit him into. And I don't think it really impacts Craig and Paul too much. It's more so the backcourt players. I think they want to keep it like relatively clean and not run like a ton of like Point Levine if they don't have to.
Okay. All right, let's move to the Toronto side of things where Precious Achiuwa and Thaddeus Young are questionable here. Achiuwa with right knee soreness. He was a late scratch on that manic Wednesday slate. Gallagher, any notes on the Raptors front court here?
Only that Fan left this one out. He talked about all the late scratches. That's cold, man. Doing that to Precious Achiuwa, but yeah, not a great read in the situation. Certainly, Chris Boucher would benefit. Yeah, that's pretty straightforward, and I think he's probably got a decent chance to miss, unless I missed something. Go ahead, Fan.
I don't have much of a read, honestly. He's been banged up a lot. It feels like like not only this season, but like in previous years as well. So it wouldn't surprise me if he missed a second straight at all.
All right, let's move to the Heat, where Bam Adebayo and Duncan Robinson both listed questionable. Bam was probably the biggest late scratch on that Wednesday slate. He's listed questionable with the left hip contusion. Duncan Robinson, right thumb sprain here. Justin, what are your notes on your favorite Miami Heat?
Well, Bam got upgraded to probable officially. He said he expects
Nice.
to play this morning at shoot around, so would feel good about him. He's been dealing with this hip issue for a while. He sat out October 30th against the Bucks with the same thing. We got some comments from Spo afterwards saying he took a hard fall in it Monday in that exact same spot. He wasn't able to jump at shoot around on Wednesday. Added that Bam has been able to heal pretty quickly the last time, and he's been getting treatment around the clock. So it looks like he's good to go tonight, though. We'll keep an eye on this, obviously, just given he was probable last game and ended up being downgraded as well. We'll note that Bam played 33 minutes in his return after that last one-game absence. So maybe a tiny bit of a cap, we'll see, but nothing too meaningful. So yeah, that kind of takes care of that. I think Duncan Robinson is the one that we're obviously watching here. He's questionable. He's really stepped up and played really well in that starting role. And the question just becomes, if Duncan Robinson, who was not at shoot around and seems, a decent shot to miss this one, if he's out, who steps in the starting lineup, right? I think it's probably three candidates. Some stronger than the others. The first being Jaime Jaquez, the second being Josh Richardson, the third being Caleb Martin. My guess would be Jaime Jaquez. He's gotten starts already this year, and his spacing, kind of fits into that role that Duncan Robinson has been able to provide. I think they like keeping Josh Richardson off the bench as the primary Kyle Lowry backup. And just Caleb, obviously a very big dark horse here, but we'll note that his minutes have really started to come up after he was limited to start in his return. So Caleb's minutes from 12 to 15 to 21 to 26 last game. So, he might be potentially in the mix to start at some point too. So yeah, I think Duncan Robinson, pretty decent shot at missing this one.
Yeah, I'll add that they added Cole Swider as well, a floor spacing guy. So it's, and then also he missed shoot around because he was getting an MRI.
Yeah.
So that's not a really good sign. And then with the Bam stuff, yeah, same exact spot. And so I did so much research on this because we took a Lowry under, and I freaking hate myself for like being okay with it. But so like he had like mobility issues, and he was pushing to play last time. He had a questionable tag for that one on October 30th. And again, probable tag, and then after, God, can't even jump and shoot around. You get the probable tag, just disgusting. But yeah, I think I'm with you. Jaime Jaquez certainly has earned it. He plays full force, locked in closing. You think that they had the confidence with him, getting the puff stories from the beats as well. So I agree with everything else. Just to add some other stuff.
We'll also note that Drew Smith is out as well. That looks like a pretty long-term injury. He's getting an MRI, so I would expect like multi-week, multi-month maybe absence for him.
Probably also, if Duncan does miss, probably solidifies Kyle Lowry's role a little bit more, just because some of the offensive stuff that they do is a lot of dribble handoff stuff with Bam and Duncan Robinson. And while Kyle Lowry is not the same shooter as Duncan Robinson, that is stuff that they will do with him as well, and kind of roll that into pick and rolls and different things like that. So I would think that this also, even though Josh Richardson is still his primary backup and still there, I would think that this also probably solidifies Kyle Lowry's minutes as well. Do you guys have any disagreement there?
Yeah, I'd agree. And I'll add, Kyle Lowry had the post-game presser, and his first comment was, when Bam got ruled out, I knew I had to take on a bigger offensive responsibility, just twisting the knife on the Kyle Lowry under we had.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would agree if you have anything, Fan.
No, I mean, if Duncan's out, they don't have Drew Smith, they don't have Hero and RJ Hampton still. So their guard depth is pretty shot just in general. So yeah, I agree with that. They would really solidify Lowry's minutes for.
All right, Nick's side of that game, Evan Fournier listed questionable here. He's not really in the rotation, so I think we can move through this pretty quickly. Justin or Mike, any notes on the Knicks? Justin, I'll start with you.
Not really. Not particular. I mean, they'll have their full guys back: Brunson, Grimes, Barrett, Randall Robinson. Fournier is going to be back out of the rotation with, with those guys healthy again. So yeah, don't have a ton here. Obviously, Bam being healthy-ish, probable now, downgrades this matchup for them. So yeah, I'll toss it to Mike if he has any notes to close this one out.
No, let's move on.
All right, let's move to Denver and Houston. Some similar injury reporting here as well. Denver still without Jamal Murray and, of course, Vlatko Konchar, who's lost for the season. Any notes on the Nuggets, Mike?
Nope. Yeah, I don't really have anything to say. We can just kind of move on. They're kind of rolling with the same stuff. The second unit's been kind of a little tough to peg, but yeah, if you have anything, fan.
Nope.
All right, Houston Rockets, keep it moving. Thompson.
As you can tell, I think some of us might have put some wagers on the under today on the hour. So,
Ahmed Thompson still out with the right ankle sprain. I guess the only thing here is has there been any update on Ahmed Thompson at all? I have not seen anything. Justin, have you?
The reports I've seen have not been that positive. I think he's still a bit a ways from coming back, and he hasn't really started to ramp up much either, I don't believe. So yeah, I think he's in that still like vague gray remains without timetable for return category.
Okay. And then any other notes on the Rockets there, Mike?
Nope, just Landale's kind of on thin ice. We've been talking about this for a while. Aaron Holiday getting a pretty good amount of run, and yeah, really good game from Jalen Green. I just wanted to note him. He was, and also shout out Ami Udoka. This man, maybe he reads matchups because he talked a lot about how Memphis is so vulnerable to jump shooting, which he's real sharp, and he loves the stats, and he's really well informed. So just shout out to him for that.
Yeah, the Jalen Green at home narrative continues to pound the table. Let's move to the other side of that, or the next game, Detroit and Indy. On the Detroit side, Jalen Duren not listed on the injury report. That's great news. He's expected to be back today. Still without Bojan Bogdanovic, but there was a little bit of a report that sounded a little bit more optimistic about the return time for him. And then Monty Morris sounds like he's out for maybe the whole season at this point, with how much time he's going to miss. Justin, what are your notes on the Pistons?
Yeah, so Duren's missed the last 5 games of what the team has termed right ankle injury management. He's had lingering issues with that ankle all season, pretty much aggravated a couple times. So it's good for them to kind of take some time and make sure he got it right. So this would mean Marvin Bagley goes back to the bench, James Wiseman back out of the rotation entirely. I wouldn't be surprised if we see some sort of minutes limit on Jalen Duren initially. But yeah, I think that's kind of covers it with Bojan still being out. They've been running Stanley Amude, in that rotation, and he should kind of remain in there until Bojan works his way back.
Yeah, they're just playing terribly. So they Duren back big time, but yeah, I don't have too much, and I would expect a minutes limit here. I should mention that James Wiseman was called the 4th big by Monty, even though he kind of played okay, I guess, according to Monty, from like not making mistakes all the time. But yeah, he's kind of toast here. He has to kind of work his way back in.
That's actually a glowing Wiseman review. He played okay, I guess. Didn't make a ton of mistakes. An absolute train wrap. Great minutes from Wiseman.
Yeah, man, love it.
All right, Indiana side, Tyrese Halliburton questionable with the right wrist sprain. Andrew Nembhard questionable with lower back spasms. Aaron Nesmith questionable with the right wrist sprain. Favorable opponent here, so maybe that goes into a little bit of some of the thinking here. But Indiana has a few days off after this. They don't play again until Monday when they get Portland at home. So they're in a softer spot of their schedule. Naturally, we talked about this earlier in the week when Rick Carlisle had comments about maybe mixing some new faces into the rotation a little bit. So Justin, what's your read here on Tyrese Halliburton, Aaron Nesmith, and Andrew Nembhard today?
Yeah, I'll always lean probable on a Halliburton Q tag. He's 3 for 4 on Q tags this season. Historically has been, I believe, like 85% plus playing through those Q tags. So I will lean he'll play, though maybe the strength of or lack of strength from their opponent factors in. But with Lean, yes, I think Neesmith is a little bit more iffy. And, I think the question for me there is, they made some starting lineup changes recently. 2 games ago, we saw Buddy Hield move in the starting lineup ahead of Benny Matherin, which I think will stick. And then obviously Neesmith missed last game, so Obi returns to the starting lineup. Curious to see what Carlisle decides to do there long term, assuming both are healthy. If he goes back to what he did two games ago with Neesmith in there for defensive purposes, obviously they've allowed like 127 points per game over the last 10. They need Neesmith's defense desperately, and Obi is a turnstile defensively, so that part of it makes sense to me. But what we have seen from Obi has been really strong play over the last 2 games. He's played 34 and 36 minutes in the last 2, played 34 2 games ago off the bench. So he's starting to kind of come around a little bit. So yeah, just kind of curious what your guys' thoughts are on that kind of position battle long term. I know we were very bearish about, 3-4 weeks ago when I was on the show about Obi's long-term minutes and like rest of season minutes projection. I think Mike put it at like 20 or 20 to 24 in that range. Have we changed on that, and kind of like where are we on this position battle moving forward?
Yeah, I think he's in a better spot. Should mention that Carlisle did make it sound like it was a matchup thing, which we actually talked a lot about on the DFS show, that, Neesmith could play more because they have 2 ball handlers in Atlanta. So I wasn't really surprised by that. So I think it would still be Obi in the starting lineup. I agree with you on Hield. And yeah, get some center minutes as well in that Atlanta game for Obi. So he has just come around here. My guy. Love to see it.
Yeah, I'm still skeptical. I think we'll sway with the wind a little bit here on Obi, and it'll be interesting to see once we get Jarris Walker like more of a consistent look and a consistent opportunity. I don't know when that's going to come. These 2 games feel like decent opportunities to get it, but I'm interested to see him compete for those minutes, because right now Obi hasn't had to compete with him, and the minutes have been a little bit shaky. Yeah. So that's the one thing that I'd note in terms of long term.
I was just going to add Indiana with the old number 1 in offense, dead last in defense. Love to see it from the game environment standpoint.
Yeah. All right, let's move to Sacramento and Minnesota. On the Sacramento side, Colby Jones listed questionable here. They are still without Keegan Murray, dealing with the lower back soreness. Chris Duarte got the start in these 2 instances where they were shorthanded on the wings. Expect that'll be the case again tonight. Justin, what are your notes on the Kings?
Yeah, not a ton here. We've seen, like you said, Chris Duarte get the start. Trey Lyles, I mean, his role was enormous off the bench in his first game. Played 28 minutes, and that was with Sasha Vezenkov being available as well, who was questionable, right? I think my kind of initial expectation for Trey Lyles initially was I had him at like 17 and a half minutes.
Yeah,
because their coaching staff, Mike Brown, came out and said he didn't expect any sort of like minutes limitations for Trey Lyles initially, and they obviously were shorthanded without Keegan. So, that's kind of a little bit like what he averaged last year. So that's kind of what I put him at. But yeah, I mean, it's really good to see his role be that big initially, and he's gonna, when they start to get healthy, he's clearly separate himself from some of these other backup bigs like Vezenkov and JaVale McGee, and really eat into those backup front court minutes for the rest of the game.
As Fan said, no ramp up. Mike Brown said they're just going to let him go. So that's pretty unusual, right? We usually see guys coming off soft tissue leg injuries just have multiple stages. I mean, like, he's like anti-Chris Middleton here, So yeah, expecting pretty big minutes. Wouldn't be surprised if he starts for the matchup for size. You obviously need as much shooting as you could get. The Kings live on jump shooting here. They're one of the heaviest catch and shoot volume teams in the NBA. So yeah, I think Lyles is in a pretty big spot in a kind of bad matchup, as Minnesota's been just fantastic on the defensive end.
Yeah, benefited from Duarte foul trouble, 5 fouls in 20 minutes, but also the matchup with Zion, right? Like, and just in terms of needing more size out there to try to prohibit Zion from getting as close to the basket as possible. And similar situation here with Karl-Anthony Towns. So it could be another good spot for Trey Lyles to outperform minutes expectations.
Mike, do you think Lyles would be the favorite right now to start? Would you put him?
I kind of think so. Yeah, I know we know Mike Brown will like never start Malik Monk. But I don't know. I kind of think Lyles starts. I don't know, just because I thought he's just too valuable. Why are you throwing Chris Duarte out there? I think you're asking too much out of Harrison Barnes, and you just need that like tall shooting. So I don't know. I don't feel strongly about it. It definitely could be Duarte, but I think they kind of got to go that way after not playing well. That's to add to that. They got wrecked 2 games ago and they lost the other one. So I don't know. I feel like they need to make a change. It's freaking Chris Duarte, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I would
but
say my main counter there is that Lyles didn't start a single game last year. So maybe he's like a Monk where they just prefer him off the bench instead of starting him.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I also think, matchups wise, I also think Duarte is probably the guy that they would give the Anthony Edwards assignment to. And Harrison Barnes would get the Karl Anthony Towns assignment. Whereas if you start, do you put Barnes on Ant? That's kind of a big ask. Or have Herter, who you're trying to run a lot of offense through at this point. So I think Duarte might get the start just because of those factors, but I think his minutes might be pretty limited on the whole, would be my guess. Okay, Minnesota side, they are still without Jaden McDaniels. That's going to be a while. And Jordan McLaughlin. Any notes on the Timberwolves? Your Minnesota Timberwolves, Mike, I'll let you lead.
Yeah, Nikhil Alexander-Walker almost certainly going to draw the De'Aaron Fox matchup. Been playing really well, and he's come up 28 after, guys. Almost done with the show. He should start. Pretty good minutes there. Slow-mo, Naz Reid. We're seeing that huge lineup out there with Naz, Rudy, and Cat playing together. Just really, really fun to see. Shake Milton also benefited as Naz playing straight wing rather than a 1-2 combo. So, yeah, pretty straightforward. And, I don't think their defense is as much as I love Jaden McDaniels. I don't think their defense falls off that much. I think Na kind of fits the defensive scheme. Rudy's playing freaking awesome. Cat's been better defensively, shooting the ball really well. Ant's been playing better defensively. So this team's legit, 11-3. I kind of want to bet this game, but haven't pushed it yet.
Yeah, we saw 28 minutes from Kyle Anderson as well, the most he played since the season opener. So expanded role for him. And good to see, a small bounce back game from Shake Milton. I know there's been some buzz from the Timberwolves beat writers that Milton's minutes and role might not be secure just because he's been off to a really, really tough start to the season shooting.
All right, let's move to Washington and Milwaukee. On the Washington side, Bilal Coulibaly listed questionable here. Left knee contusion. He's been the one guy that they've really wanted to play a lot this season, and they've made a concerted effort to. I would note that since the DeLon Wright injury, though, things have been generally tighter on the Washington rotation. It's benefited that they've only been in a few blowouts, so we haven't seen it as expanded. This is a big spread game tonight. What are your notes on Coulibaly's availability tonight, Justin?
He twisted an ankle late in Wednesday's game, tried to stay in, went to the locker room, and that was something we were monitoring, and a little bit surprised that he wasn't on the initial injury report. So not surprising that he was added now as questionable. I think that might have been like a clerical error more so. But yeah, I think he's decent chance to miss. Just twisted an ankle last game and popped up today. So yeah, don't have a ton more color to add on his chances of playing.
Yeah, it would probably get Johnny Davis in the mix, would certainly add more minutes ceiling to Denny Avdia. Tyus Jones also lost minutes in the last Milwaukee game for size, so his minutes would be way safer if Bilal missed. So yeah, it's pretty much. And then obviously, the other stuff, like a little more minutes for Poole, Kispert, yada, yada, yada.
I think
they're also on the front end of a back-to-back, so it might be that might factor into the decision of Coulibaly's availability as well.
I think on this injury report, the 230, all we got was GP2 downgraded from probable to questionable. I think that's the only one, if I'm reading it right. Yeah.
All right. Milwaukee side, Giannis Antetokounmpo questionable, non-COVID illness. It's nice to see a questionable tag on Milwaukee. Usually we get these probables that are moved during the course of the day, but what's the read here, Justin, on Giannis in a huge spread game with a non-COVID related illness?
Yeah, same day downgrade from probable to questionable, never good, especially on this Bucks side when they're being this forthright with their tag. So I think probably 40% to play, a little bit more on the doubtful side of that Q tag, I would guess, and against a team that they should be able to handle without him. I think he was, maybe got a little sick of getting these layup lines last game. Basically, I didn't have that game on. I had it on like Gamecast, and it was just basically every other play was like Giannis Antetokounmpo makes driving dunk. Yeah, Giannis Antetokounmpo converts driving layup. It's like every other play. It was wild. So I think there's a good chance he misses this one. Last time he missed, he's missed one game so far this season. Andre Jackson Jr. got the start in his place. Would expect that to be the same. But Andre Jackson Jr. only played 16.5 minutes. The majority of those minutes went to Bobby Portis in the second unit. Bobby Portis played 31 minutes. I expect him to be the primary beneficiary in terms of minutes if Giannis ends up being ruled out. And that last game that Giannis missed, Dame, 41% usage rate in that spot. So obviously a massive Dame spot against a very soft Wizards defense. And then Brook Lopez in an amazing spot as well. There's a number of players who I think Malik Beasley, dropped 30 that game that Giannis missed. And then Bobby Portis is in the mix as well. So this is one where if Giannis misses, this spread gets a little tighter. The blowout risk, decreases a little bit, and it's obviously better for the minutes floors of a lot of these other guys.
Yeah, probably one of the easiest matchup cover boys for me in that Giannis game against the Wizards. LaMelo was another pretty easy one for me last time. So that's rolling with the matchup cover boys. Booker today, by the way. Don't have too much to add. Yeah, the 1-2 punch quote about Brook Lopez and Bobby Portis, I think that's kind of why. But again, they're going to see a lot of minutes there. Only other thing to add, too, is Andre Jackson's minutes got cut a little bit with AJ Green playing a little bit more. This is the one to give him a look. So I'm not as confident that Andre Jackson gets to start, but I do think he does. But the minutes floor is really, really, really low.
Do you think they would go back to Portis, or is there someone else that you would think that they go like to Beauchamp or Connaughton or something?
Yeah, it might be Beauchamp, right? I think that kind of because he was out for that. Yeah, he was out for that game, so that makes sense. Actually, I would say Beauchamp. Yeah. Now that I think about it,
no mention of the Chris Middleton minutes expansion last game up to 29.
Yeah.
What are your guys' thoughts in the chat? Someone asking about Middleton's ceiling if Giannis sits. Do you think it's impacted by Giannis's availability at all? What are your guys' expectations for Middleton's minutes tonight? Justin, I'll start with you.
Yeah, so it was a pretty big ramp up, honestly. I thought it was a mistake because they've been really tight with his minutes in the past, and he's been very steady from like 20 to 23, I think was what he played on Monday against the Wizards. And to get up all the way to 29 is a bit aggressive to me. I didn't really see any comments from their coaching staff about them purposely upping his minutes or that he's off a minutes limit now. So I'm not quite sure. I think this range is probably what I would expect again. But yeah, I would love to hear your thoughts because I was shocked that he got all the way to 29, honestly.
Yeah, no comments from Griffin, but he's been hinting at this that like, okay, take your time. Because he gets asked about it like every presser, and he kind of didn't really get that question last time, so it was kind of weird. But I think he's going to hang in this range for a little bit. Like look how long he is on this 20 and a half kind of thing, right? So I think that they're going to probably be on this 29 thing for I don't know 2 weeks. Maybe he comes back down. Certainly, hashtag biggest game of the year kind of stuff. Against Boston, that maybe that was part of it. So I don't think he's going to be consistently hitting like low 30s for maybe another couple weeks.
What would you have his minutes at today?
I would probably put him at 27, maybe 20. Yeah,
probably 27 and a half for me is probably where he goes. Split between 25.
Well, blowout too. So
I have 26 and a half on my end. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Blowout would probably be 26 and a half. Yeah, 26.
Yeah. Okay. Let's move to San Antonio and Golden State. Nothing to cover really on San Antonio's side. They're without their G League guys today. I think we can move pretty quickly through that. And then Justin, you mentioned the Gary Payton downgrade from probable to questionable. They're still without Draymond Green, who's still serving a suspension. What are your notes on either side of this game?
Yeah, with GP2, I think it just kind of solidifies the minutes floor of Podziemski and Moses Moody. We saw Kerr really stick with those guys against Phoenix. I mean, their stars were getting killed. Steph, Clay weren't on their games, and it was Podziemski in that second unit that really cut the lead and spurred the comeback, right? So if GP2 the same day downgrade, obviously not a good sign, and he has an extensive injury history, just means Pods has a nicer performance. I am curious, like when GP2 and eventually Draymond get back, how comfortable Kerr is with extending that rotation. If he just kind of sticks with the 10 that he has been, or even expands it to 11, because there have been some guys that have emerged, and wondering like who gets cut in the end when they do get bodies back.
Yeah, definitely could see. We've seen Trace Jackson Davis get some minutes. Could be him. But yeah, I think Paz is kind of in the mix and kind of earned it. Definitely kind of kept them in this game. So yeah, other than that, Clay kind of coming alive here. Wiggins kind of coming alive here. Just want to note that. And they love Dario, man. Like Dario is beating Looney like so frequently. And on the Scott Foster stuff, I saw the underdog Chris Paul ejected Scott Foster. That was good. And yeah, Kerr didn't actually complain about that. He complained about the music in the Phoenix arena. That was like his big argument. And it was like, your man just got ejected by Scott Foster. And like, it's like the biggest meme in the NBA, right? Like everyone just like, oh my God, of course, But so that was kind of funny. But yeah, I don't have too much else to add. Last Draymond game suspension as well.
All right, Pels and Clippers last game.
Actually, really quick, if we could hit just the Vassell stuff, because he's kind of coming off that minutes limit. Got pretty strong minutes at 27 as well. So probably expecting him to start here. We talk about this all the time, right? When he comes off injury, they bring him off the bench. So I kind of expect him to start. I don't know if you have any takes on Vassell, Dan.
I would expect him to start as well. I mean, we've seen this pattern before where he'll play off the bench. This is a San Antonio thing, right? They did it last year, I believe, with like Keldon Johnson too when he was coming back. So yeah, this is nothing new for them.
Cool.
All right, Pels and Clippers last game of the slate. Pels side clean in the sense that there's no questionable tags, but still without CJ McCollum, Trey Murphy, and Matt Ryan. Justin, do you have any notes on the Pels? And I know Gallagher was saying that this is around the time of the year that we expected a Trey Murphy return. Will we see Trey Murphy anytime soon?
I haven't heard anything, honestly. And they're pretty good with updates on players in terms of updating their timelines. Like they'll do like a release from their PR account or official account with a bunch of updates on players at times, and haven't got anything from on him. So a little discouraging, a little worrisome, honestly, that he hasn't been ramping up as much. So yeah, I think he's in that like gray, vague, without timetable for return for me too. I think like Dink is being raptured or something over there. What's going on?
Oh no, yeah, the lighting situation at my parents is a little bit of a challenge with the very dark lights in here, and then the sun is just like clouds just moved that have opened up and taken me in. This is the most sun I'll see for the next 3 months. So,
So to add, also with the releases, they make us click the link, fan, right? Just put this freaking put the news on the tweet, please. The Wolves do that too. Shout out to the Wolves for their PR and their food stuff. But they're gonna stick with the starting lineup. If it ain't broke, don't fix it was the quote. Dyson Daniels has been handling on ball. Surprisingly, has picked up the De'Aaron Fox matchup like straight. That was surprising. So, curious to see. I think he gets Harden, and I'm curious to see where Herb fits in this. I think Herb would get Paul George, which could be a good Kawhi spot. So yeah, just definitely wanted to note the matchups there.
All right. On the Clippers side of things, Norm Powell questionable, right growing soreness. Any notes on Powell's potential availability tonight, Justin?
Yeah, I think there's a good shot he misses. He suffered that injury in the first half of Wednesday's game, and we saw the second half rotation. It was Amir Coffey who got his minutes. So I would expect Coffey to get the majority of those Norm minutes. And then Bones Highland was also mentioned by Law Murray as someone who should be able to step in and fill in the rest of those. So it's Coffey and Bones should see the majority of those minutes.
Yep, 100% agree. Certainly, you need Powell for offense. That's definitely a Bones thing. They could restructure the second unit. It should still be kind of Paul George really running that second unit, which has kind of helped his fantasy output. But yeah, they like Amir Coffey, can guard 1 through 4, all that good stuff here. And in a matchup where they would certainly need to do that. So I agree. Bones and Amir would be next in. And I think he's missing. It's groin soreness seems like something you would miss a couple games for.
Yep.
All right, we've done it. 40 minutes in, one rapture later, we are done with today's injury report analysis show. As always, support the people who are supporting us. So check out all the good things going on at Underdog Fantasy, a daily NBA contest where you can snake draft your way to thousands of dollars at the top of the prize pool. You can get in the Pick'em streets as well. I've been doing that here in Florida. While I haven't had my normal sports betting accounts, I've been in the Pick'em streets. Shout out to Geno Smith for not getting over 234.5 yards and closing out one for me, one for the good guys. So go on over to Underdog and check out all of the great contests and Pick'em offerings that they have. Check out Underdog, NBA's news team at Underdog_NBA for more information on all of the injury report information that you need up to date on all those late scratches that will drive us nuts. So yeah, check out all the stuff at Underdog. Justin, any other things to plug before we get out of here?
No, man. NFL season is upon us as well. So NFL news account has been buzzing. Been spending a lot of time ignoring my family yesterday, especially, putting stuff out there. So yeah, NBA, NFL.
Perfect. Well, if you don't have anything more to plug, I still got plenty to shill. So join us behind the paywall at 5 o'clock Eastern time tonight with myself and Gary Hartman walking through this slate. You can get all the information you need about our products over at establishedrun.com/subscribe-MBA for more information. Check out the props package as well, which we have raised the price to $59.99 a week. Make sure to read that FAQ if you are interested. And of course, if you're enjoying the free content that we provide here, subscribe to this YouTube channel, get notifications whenever we go live. And of course, help feed that algorithm by smashing that like button. It's a week to feed yourselves, but you got to feed us too in that algorithm with that like button. So smash that like button. It helps feed our families, allows us to feed you the NBA injury information and analysis you need to make your DFS lineups, spread bets, prop bets, season-long fantasy lineups, and so on and so forth. So smash that like button. Nom, 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 nom. We'll see you on Monday. Take care, everybody.